The most valuable skill in today's world is not social media expertise. It's not content creation. It's not personal branding. It's not email marketing. It's not productivity hacking. It's not networking or relationship building. It's the foundation of all these skills that I just mentioned. So the most valuable skill in today's world is authentic storytelling. But that doesn't make sense when I just say authentic storytelling, and nobody really tells you to learn that specific skill. Instead, they tell you to learn things like content creation or personal branding or marketing. They are all somewhat synonymous. I want you to understand the framework, the structure of how all these things work and how they impact human psychology. Why are we learning skills in the first place? It's to get value and therefore acquire value. That exchange between two individuals means that you have to understand the other individual. If value is perception and other people can't perceive what you have to offer as valuable, then you are not going to get the value you want to receive. And in most cases, that value is going to be freedom. If you do not know how to communicate your authentic story or understand the psychology of the person you are trying to exchange value with, whether it's in a relationship or just in business, whether you are approaching someone online or applying for a job, it's all the same thing. You have cultivated value to offer. You need to persuade the other person to see that value so that they can give you the value that you want in return. And in the context of creating a one-person business or personal brand, authentic storytelling comes into play in everything. With your writing, it has to be authentic if you want it to resonate. If it's not authentic, it's not going to be seen as valuable to other people. So they won't exchange the value of your attention or your money. That's what you want from them when you are posting content, right? And when you are posting a landing page or literally anything online, whether it's a LinkedIn post or even a job application, it has to follow a persuasive storytelling structure. And just as a bonus, there's a PDF in the description that goes over my 10 commandments of authentic storytelling and 32 story structures that you can emulate to increase the power of your personal narrative. There's no pitch in there, there's no hidden agenda, it's just a free resource to help you tell better stories. So let's finally dive in. People don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. This is worth repeating. Humans are emotional beings, not logical. Most people haven't developed themselves to the point of making decisions based solely on facts and figures. That is the foundation of capturing and holding attention. Connecting with people's emotions. You can make them feel seen and understood, or you can make them feel challenged and uncomfortable. If you can take people on an emotional journey of recognition, insight, possibility, and ultimately transformation, you have mastered the art of storytelling. Life is story. The universe follows patterns of highs and lows, creation and destruction, growth and death. Humans make sense of the world through stories. Your job is to use the power of your words to make people feel something. Stories mimic the natural highs and lows of emotion. I experienced this firsthand when I was 16 and got arrested for the second time. I wasn't in juvenile court this time. I was in subordinate court, thrown into a lockup with hardened criminals. While waiting for my parents to bail me out, I watched a grown man scream into a phone because no one would come for him. His family had abandoned him. Right then I saw my future. If I didn't change, I would end up like him. Angry, abandoned, forgotten. That observation changed everything for me. It showed me who I never wanted to become. So we understand the importance of storytelling by mimicking the patterns of lives, the highs and the lows, the lessons learned, the emotions that give people meaning and feeling. Because if you're just positive all the time, that's not authentic, that's just marketing. Eventually, it balances out to what feels fake or boring. That's all to say that human understanding is based on the authentic highs and lows of life. And we need to understand how to incorporate that into whatever we write, speak, or communicate. So as you are scrolling on social media, this is a great way to learn, rather than consuming information or research information. When you are scrolling, try to understand What caught my attention? Why am I still reading this? How are they holding my interest? Try to pay attention to these 10 commandments of authentic storytelling as you are scrolling so that you can notice them. Pattern recognition helps with learning. So there are many ways to capture attention, but I found these to be the most replicable and practical, with number 8 being the most potent commandment. Number 1, specific numbers. Using numbers in your stories makes people stop to see what the numbers relate to. This can be in the form of statistics, like how I closed the first month of Q1 with more than 5k in revenue. Or metrics like how I grew from 0 to 400 newsletter subscribers by posting daily for 6 months. The more specific a number is, the more it catches people's attention. And if you can't make a number super specific in your story, don't stress. This is only one tactic of many. You are supposed to use these as tools in your toolbox to allow you to piece together into something authentic and attention-grabbing. A pattern interrupt is something that breaks people out of their normal conditioned patterns. Early in my career, I worked at a fast-paced ad agency. You know, the type where staying late was worn like a badge of honor. One night, I stayed until almost midnight. Bleary-eyed, I caught the last train home. Halfway through the ride, my phone rang. It was my account director. He said, "Come back, there's more to finish." I froze. I didn't want to upset anyone. So I turned around, returned to the office, did the work, and took a cab home. Angry, confused, but mostly defeated. That was a night that I learned that no amount of loyalty protects you in a system designed to extract everything until you break. This story breaks the pattern of what people expect to hear when discussing career advancement. Most of the things in this list are commandments that are pattern interrupts. The human brain is wired to connect through shared experiences. Like when I share about raising my neurodiverse daughter while building a one-person business. 4 therapy sessions a week, that's what it takes now. Occupational therapy, speech therapy, play therapy. She is 2. Possible autism. Meltdowns that last 30 minutes because we open the door for the delivery person and we are not going out. This vulnerability isn't about getting sympathy. It's about showing that behind every successful person is a real life with real challenges. So when you are crafting a story, look for that authentic vulnerability that people can relate to. This one simply involves calling out the specific person you are talking to. Examples like if you are building a one-person business, for creators stuck at 0 revenue, or parents of neurodiverse children understand this struggle. Even if your audience doesn't fall into a specific group you are calling out, it allows them to pick a side and compare themselves to what you are saying. I did this when I wrote about quitting smoking at 16 and giving up alcohol 4 years ago. Not because I wanted to become a monk or better than anyone else, but because I wanted to know what it felt like to be myself. This story calls out to people who are questioning their habits and wondering who they might be without their vices. When you are building anything, especially a personal brand or business, you have to become obsessed with understanding people's problems. A lot of people aren't walking around with their problems top of mind. They are distracted, they are scrolling on their phone, and when you name their pain, like feeling trapped in a corporate job or struggling to build an audience from 0, suddenly they pay attention because you have brought that pain to their conscious mind. I did this when I wrote, "You feel terrible because your subconscious just know that you could be doing something better." This taps into the quiet dissatisfaction many people feel but can't quite articulate. This is the before and after, showing people where they could be. While problem recognition is more potent because of our negativity bias, transformation stories create hope. When you are selling a transformation through your story, you talk about where you were and where you are now. And then the curiosity gap between these two makes them want to learn from you on how to achieve that transformation. Like when I share how I went from being laid off 3 times to building my own one-person business that generates income while I sleep. Social proof in storytelling is authoritative and implies an information gap or curiosity gap. When you share your results or experiences, people want to know how you get there. They will take your content more seriously and read to find the information they are missing. This works 100 times better when it's not viewed as bragging. Like when I mentioned closing March with more than 5k in revenue for my one-person business. Not to impress people, but to show what's possible when you build consistently for 6 months. You use social proof to illustrate a point that you are trying to make, not just to flex. This is by far the most important one, which is conviction. You can create highly impactful stories with conviction alone. It follows other aspects of storytelling to fall into place. You are right about your own experiences and what you have learned from them. No one can argue with that. This is what you are doing when you are writing or creating content. You are painting a picture of your perspective and what you believe right now. And if you are wishy-washy about your beliefs, then it's safe to say you are not really making any progress. You don't trust yourself and aren't taking action aligned with your goals. But aside from that, your job is to have confidence in your story and the lessons you have learned from your experiences. Everyone is online looking for clarity. Nobody is secure in their actions, choices, and beliefs. They are looking for someone to confirm their intuition with confidence and give them the clarity to act. Like when I wrote, if you don't consciously design your own operating system, you will adopt someone else. If you don't choose your stress will choose you. If you don't get honest about your vices, they will become your values. Active voice implies that there is a story. It hooks people into what you are saying. Passive voice is often boring and gives away the mini story too early. There's no anticipation that makes people want to figure out what happened next. When you are practicing writing posts, look up an article on active voice and use it to edit until you get the hang of it. This also helps with being perceived as confident. What should people be looking out for when they are trying to create the life you have built? Can you warn them about something they are going to encounter as they are trying to reach where you are now? I did this when I wrote, we live in a world where we are praised for self-destruction if the results look good. I was winning in a game I did not choose to play. So those are the 10 commandments of authentic storytelling. But now we need to understand what holds attention because we have captured it. Now we need to hold it. Once the curiosity loop is open, the mind feels committed to figure out the rest of the story. That is what holds attention, crafting a compelling narrative. Stories are layers of experiences, lessons, and insights that take people on a journey. People want to understand the entire story. They want to know what came before, during, and after. But I also want to say here that a story isn't just chronological events. It's not just, I did this, then I did that. What I'm talking about is structure. The structure of a story includes highs and lows. You are walking people through a problem. Think of it like a classic story structure. A setting, a problem, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. That's what a landing page is. That's what a LinkedIn post is. It's all guiding people through a story with problems, benefits, and solutions. So there are two things you need to understand about this. One is formatting. We aren't in high school anymore. Long professional paragraphs don't matter and reduce readability, especially online. So how do you improve the structure of all your content? Number one, use bullet lists. Use numbers, lists, and other tactics that help you to break apart what you are saying. These create a story in themselves. Number two, use line breaks. Use line breaks whenever possible. Be creative and use them to emphasize specific sentences and help your writing flow. Number three, starting short and concise. Use shorter sentences or paragraphs at the start of your content. Capture attention with short, punchy statements. Then let loose with the rest of your story. Number four, breaking apart sentences. Use parentheses and dashes over commas. This makes your content more scannable and readable. Here's an example of all the above in a hook. I've been laid off 3 times. The first time I took it personally. The second time I told myself it was the economy. The third time, I finally understood. I was never in control. The second thing that holds attention is novel perspectives. This requires you to get the bulk of your ideas from your own unique experiences and lessons you have learned from them. Novelty increases dopamine levels in the brain, and it brings more clarity to an idea that has been talked about before. For example, when I wrote about gender identity, I didn't follow the expected narrative. People often ask, would you ever transition? The truth, gender is not a finish line. It's not about arriving at one fixed identity or ticking off a checklist to prove legitimacy. Right now, I exist in the in-between. This perspective challenges the typical binary thinking around gender identity. So that's how you hold attention. But what creates engagement? Remember, people don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. When I share the story of my daughter and how her needs led me to create a one-person business, I'm not just sharing information. I'm creating an emotional connection. The first thing that creates engagement is the feelings that come from education or learning. Learning something new or gaining clarity on some aspect of your life raises dopamine levels in the brain. You create clarity through novel perspectives, metaphors, and personal experiences that help others understand what you are saying. Your job is to make sense to a specific group of people. You do this by sharing how certain experiences make sense to you. That's it. The second thing that creates engagement is the feeling that comes from inspiration. Inspiration is different from motivation. You are helping people connect the dots on their own, giving them the clarity to make their own decisions and change their behavior. People feel good when they think they came up with the answers themselves, but they will still attribute that feeling to you. Like how I shared when I transitioned from corporate layoffs to building my own business. I'm not telling people to quit their jobs. I'm showing them there's another path. The third thing that creates engagement is the feeling that comes with recognition, making people feel seen. Most people think storytelling is about being inspiring, but that's a lie. The best stories are the ones that make people feel seen, not impressed, not amazed, just less alone. When I write about the morning routine of cycling my daughter to school or about my creative process, I'm showing that success isn't about hustle culture. It's about designing a life that works for you. Education, inspiration, and recognition are the main goals of storytelling. That's what you are as a creator or a personal brand builder. Someone who often makes others feel educated, inspired, and seen. Now, let's talk about how to build your one-person business through storytelling. I built my business from scratch, not in a straight line, not with a perfect funnel, not with VC funding or a dream team, but with stories that I was once too ashamed to share. 6 months ago, I was invisible and making $0. Today, I'm building a one-person business that makes money while I sleep. People think nothing is working until everything starts working. But everything won't start working if you keep chasing perfect. You don't need a perfect product. You need a perfect process. Most creators quit because they measure growth in likes. I measure by revenue, leads, emails collected. Likes don't pay your bills. Stories do. Systems do. Because storytelling is a strategy, not just self-expression. If you are stuck on zero, the answer isn't motivation, it's momentum. Start writing, start sharing, start selling. You won't believe how fast $0 becomes 5K. My days don't start with a screen, they start on a bicycle. Every morning, I cycle my daughter to school. Morning light on our faces, legs pumping, minds waking up. It's a simple ritual that grounds me. After drop off, my work begins, but not with writing. I start with connection, replying to comments, DMing new contacts. Because in a one-person business, your network isn't an afterthought, it is the business. Then I shift to learning, podcasts, books, online courses. Only then do I write. 4 hours of deep focused work, no distractions. That's the heartbeat of my business. This rhythm didn't happen by accident. It was built intentionally. You need 3 habits to stay sane and scale a one-person business. 1 to fill your mind, 1 to empty your mind, and 1 to use your mind. Miss any of these and you spiral. The best creators I know don't just work around the clock. They design their work around what truly matters. They know that rest multiplies creativity. The hard truth? Most of what looks like productivity is just motion. Real progress comes when you own your schedule, attention, and audience. That's why I write every day. That's why I sell digital products, not just my time. That's why I'm building a business designed around my life, not vice versa. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it valuable. This was very practical, but you have to practice these principles. Remember, the PDF for authentic storytelling is available in the description. If you want to learn to build your one-person business and craft stories that convert, check out my newsletter below. Everyone has a story. Everyone needs to communicate value. Everyone needs to do their own thing. So if you want to do that, regardless of whether it's labeled as a creator or not, just start sharing your authentic stories. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.